sparkle like the stars.
When you heard sticky floors and glass ceilings, what came to mind? I'm curious.
For the glass ceiling, to me, it's the limitations.
For the sticky floors, I thought you're just not growing, you're stuck.
When you've reached the limit and you have no point of return.
Maybe the other question I have is, what's your expectation?
For me, I think it's the never-ending question of work-life balance. And then also, there's nothing like experience, just getting to know from the panelists, just getting to know their life experience. I think it speaks to my heart just when you're giving your own life story. Yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Who is Meghan Markle? She's not just known as the Duchess of Sussex. She's a feminist and she stands up for women's rights and she's done many, many things for women. There's a quote that she says, and I'll give it to you. Women need a seat at the table. They need an invitation to be seated there. And when this is not available, they need to create their own table. So, without much further ado, I want to welcome our chair lady for WNF. Her name is Caroline Mambogo. So in 2017, for all of you who don't know, she was one of the top 40 under 40 women in Kenya. Excuse you. So that's her day job, and we are so thankful that she took the challenge to be the WNF chair lady. We honor you, we celebrate you. Karibu sana, Caroline.
Morning, ladies. Are we excited this morning? Oh, I truly am excited to be here. And I want to thank all of you for braving the cold. And I think this morning particularly, I don't know that they knew we had this theme taking place. There was quite a lot of jam. But ishindwe. Tuko hapa, sindio? So a very, very warm welcome. Let me also welcome you once again to this particular event. The second of such this year. This is our second WNF event. And for sure, we are greatly humbled and honored to also have our guests with us. Karibuni sana. So sticky floors, glass ceilings. I think I've had a few comments here and there of what our expectation is. So I want to just break it a little bit as to where these words, from an origin perspective, when they were first spoken, where they came from, so that we can put it in context, right? So the glass ceiling was originally portrayed as a perception or experience of individual women in the world of business. So the first use of the word glass ceiling, going by most of the ported stories that I got to see on the web and off the web, came from a remark in an American magazine in 1984. I don't know where some of us were. I can tell you I was a baby. Let me not say how old. And it said this, that women have reached a certain point. And that person actually quoted and said, I call it the glass ceiling. They are in the top of middle management, and they are stopping and getting stuck. Are we stuck? Are we feeling stuckish? Yeah? So we are going to hear how to unstuck us. Then in 1987, a book-length research report into the corporate glass ceiling was published by a lady called Anne Morrison and others, and the Center of Creative Leadership. So they defined glass ceiling as a transparent barrier that kept women from rising above a certain level in corporations. The glass ceiling applies to women as a group who are kept from advancing higher because they are women. Now we need to turn around that narrative, right? Barclays women, mupo. We need to turn around that narrative. So another significant term that was coined in 1992 was Catherine's account of sticky floors. So these words have been used over time. We could be feeling the effects of them, but we are saying we want to really break that, right? In a report for Center for Women in Governance at SUNY. So the research was done in response to all the focus on glass ceilings. For as she said in an interview the following year, most women should be so lucky to have the glass ceiling as their problem. Now, that was her view. Many women are marred in the sticky floor. So when it's a glass ceiling issue, she's saying it's a better problem than being on sticky floors. But based on a statistical study of women and ethnic minorities in state and local government, she showed how most individuals in these employment fields were stuck in jobs with low pay, with very limited possibilities for up or sideways movements. There were no career ladders within organizations for those stuck to the floor. Anyway, the thing is this. What these two terms have in common is that they are a result of research that stopped looking at the individual men and women as individuals and started looking at the barriers. But I think for us here, we are here for a very different, I would say, agenda. So fast forward to our present day. We have clearly advanced the women agenda in the workplace, and we have seen many more women take up positions, haven't we? Yeah, and no wonder we have our 4 panelists today, so they'll give us their story, because they have actually taken up those roles and have made a difference where they have been placed. So we are here this morning to draw from the wisdom of these 4 career women, and of course from the discussions that we shall have as a team, so that we can break the glass ceiling and make it in our corporate spheres where we have been placed. So let our conversations and questions seek to unpack that piece. For me, I'm also looking to see what detergent, I think I've had Megan saw a detergent advert. So what detergent can we use to unstuck ourselves from the sticky floors? When a floor is sticky in the house, what do? So you use a certain detergent. So it depends with how strong that detergent is. So I trust our women today will tell us what detergent to go for. And I can tell you it's not Ariel, Omo, or the others, but let's hear what that is. So my hope is that we shall walk away from here today with a peace that will spur our inner self to take the next step to our bigger, better us. So you need to have a bigger, better you as you leave this place. So pick with yourself a peace that will help you as you go out there to live a more fulfilled, purpose-driven career life. And that is our agenda this morning. So most welcome, ladies, to Sticky Floors and Glass Ceilings. And without much further ado, and please do note this session is being videographed, so we will share this particular clip with the rest of the branch network. There are people who didn't quite make it to be here, so we'll be able to do that. So I want to welcome our speaker for the day. Are we ready to receive our speaker for the day? Now let's hear what her profile says. Are you guys ready? She is the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. She has broad work experience at the national and regional level. At the helm of the Commission, she provides strategic leadership for the implementation of the Commission's strategic plan that focuses on the promotion of a culture of respect for human rights in Kenya. She does hold a Master's of Law from the University of Notre Dame, Indiana, majoring in international human rights. She's a law graduate from the University of Nairobi and holds a postgraduate diploma from the Kenya School of Law. Prior to joining KNCHR, she briefly served as United Nations Development Program as the Chief Technical Advisor for the Judiciary of South Sudan. She also worked for the United Nations Mission in Liberia from 2004 to 2013 in a number of capacities in the governance, democracy, human rights, and rule of law sectors. She also served as the Executive Director at the Kenya section of the International Commission of Jurists and Senior Programs Officer, Acting Executive Director in the Federation of Women Lawyers. She serves in the LSK Standing Committee on Judicial Appointments. It's called SCOJA. And more to that, to top it all, like the icing on the cake, she's a mother of one and a mom to many. Come on, guys, help me in welcoming Kagwiria Bogori.
I was very intrigued when I got an invitation from you. I was very intrigued. First of all, I wondered, why me? Why me? I kept asking the question in my office, and my personal assistant was not able to tell me quite. Why me? How did they even hear of me? Why? I think our country, we have a lot of very eloquent, very accomplished women, and I couldn't help wondering, why me? Where did, and I still want you to tell me, how did I cross your radar? Why Why would you invite such one as I as your keynote speaker this morning? But I'm glad you invited me. I'm going to start with a disclaimer and say whenever I'm invited to speak, especially on topics such as this, I bring myself. Such as I am, I bring myself. A long time ago, I decided to face the world unembellished because I said, wonderfully and beautifully made. And that's why, for instance, I don't use makeup and I don't color my hair. And I stopped dyeing my hair long before it became fashionable. Because I started, at the age of 30, I knew all the color dyes and how because I saw my first gray hair when I was 14 and in high school. And by the time I was 30, because I had gone through a traumatic experience of a matrimonial misadventure at the age of 26. At the age of 30, at the age of 27, I walked out of a marriage, and now that I'm so much older, I wonder at the courage I had at that age to make such a decision and to decide that it was not for me, and I walked out. And I've never looked back. So, unfortunately, the stress of that situation and feeling as if my life was over, but not being able to account about where did it go. Because I just had this recurring thought, my life is over. But then the next thought would be, but how did that happen so fast? Where did it go? I have not even lived. And I got stuck there. And as I tried to unstick myself from that, my hair was turning rapidly gray. So by the age of 30, every visit to the salon meant that I had to go to the dye corner. Then I needed to do it so frequently because my hair is the kind that grows out so quickly. I had to learn to do it myself. At the age of 38, I'd had a career of 10 years of dyeing. And I just said, am I really going to dye this for the rest of I don't know how long I'm going to live, but am I going to do it I just said, you know what, I'm not going. Then I started thinking, how many women are enriching these companies? So I decided not to dye my hair anymore. And I won't talk about my hair anymore because that's not why you brought me here, but I just want to tell you that when I'm invited to these events, I bring myself. I talk candidly, and I tell you as it is, and I don't embellish. Ours is a story of struggle. And we have learned to adopt and adapt. Adopt practices, adopt survival mechanisms in order to adapt in a man's world. And when I'm very frustrated in a man's world, I usually tell them, it's your world, I just live in it. You know? And I'm being sarcastic, but because we don't usually get hurt, sometimes I think I don't get hurt. You wanted me to talk to you about taking your seat at the table. Leadership and likability. Work-life balance. Is it possible to have it all? And then living in the moment and dealing with the mom guilt. And I wondered if someone had told you about my life. Because it is true I have something to tell you about all these experiences. And I can only hope that if I share from my heart and what I've experienced and how I dealt with it, mayhaps some of you will identify yourself in my own story. And I hope if I can do anything this morning, I can lend you a bit of courage in terms of just facing it and not avoiding it. Let me start. Taking your seat at the table, I first learned about this before I was 30, when I was dealing with those things I just talked about, because I had graduated as a lawyer, and my auntie was busy inducting me into as a good tribeswoman. So whenever our kinsmen and anyone died, she would call me. And actually, she would just summon me. Let me say the truth. She would just summon me and say, we are meeting Sijui Garden Square, where? Be there. We are meeting at St. Andrews in this place. We are meeting here. Be there. So I've usually been a conscientious human being, and I would turn up at funeral meetings. Funeral meetings. And sometimes I would turn up on time. But many Kenyans don't turn up on time. You know that. So you'll be there chattering stories. So when the meeting starts, I'm one of those who has a seat at the small table. When they get a table like for 10 or 15 people, and then maybe you'll be 50, so others will have to stand or sit. You know how it is, or how it used to be. These days it's more sophisticated. People rent a whole room. Those days it was not like that. So I'll be there seated, and then I'll notice that the chairman was always a man. They always look for the most prominent looking man, then you'll be the chairman. And then the treasurer was always a man, dealing with money. And then secretary, they'll start looking for. And because of my promptness, I was often designated as the. But let me tell you something about the secretary. You have to make sense of all that crap people talk there and try to extricate what the sense is, reduce it into a legible format, type it up, print it, make copies, and the next day you come and give them. Now that's a lot of work, by the way. That's where the work is. Okay, because that time, although this guy is taking the money, apparently he's not taking the writing who took what. So you'll also have to type out that. I found that is where the work was. And then I made a decision. I said, no, I'm not going to take notes anymore. I'm not a secretary. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. So the next time I was invited, I refused to be the secretary. And then I quipped, but I can be at the chair if you want. I had not earned enough wherewithal to be the chairperson. So I remember being given dirty looks, both by men and women. But it ended up I was not a woman. Then I had another experience on that table. And I have sometimes, because I came early, I have a pride of place. I have a nice place right smack there, right in the middle of the whatever. And I was not as substantial as I am now. So you can imagine that I was not intimidating by size. And then, halfway down the meeting, this man comes in wearing a shiny blue suit, and you know how men walk when they enter a space, and he's rattling keys. And those are the days before everybody had a car. If you were rattling keys, meant that you were actually occupying space on the Kenyan roads, and it said something, it was a status symbol, so you come rattling those keys. And then everybody will be standing up and scrambling, those back slaps and everything and whatever. And then they'll look around the table to see whom they were going to oust, and guess where would they look? To say, patia mheshimiwa, toa hii kiti, kutoka hapa, wacha keti. The first time I was also, because I was just so surprised, I just stood and I'm scrambling. Do I leave my what? Then it was awkward. That's why then, because now no other seat is available, I'm standing at the back of this behind others, and I came early. I was so resentful about the injustice of it all, and I was so bloody resentful. I was so resentful, and then on top of all that, when he donates, he does not even make it 1,000. All that hullabaloo. Please. Then I just saw this is a lie. I'm still youngish. I'm not yet 30. And I just saw this is a lie. This is a lie. It's just a bombastic lie. Someone just comes there, displaces people by just this bombastic treatment and movement and really puffing themselves up. But it is all heart and no cattle. I had contributed more. Madam Lawyer, not yet 30. And I had been displayed. Then I made ninasemaga. I made a decision that I shall never again be displaced from my place at the table. I'm telling you this because it happened at a funeral. I can't even remember whose funeral it is. May God rest them in peace. But I have never, once I sat, and I used all my eyes and my whatever, and the next time I was told to stand, I invited the man who was asking me to stand to give up his own seat. And I did not move. And I got dirty looks, both from men and women, for daring to upset the order of things. Ladies, I've never given up my seat after that day. And this is part of the story of my life. So when you talk about taking your seat at the table, let me tell you this. When you're given a seat, Wakenya wanasema kalia na? Yeah, you know. Na hizo mbili. Kaa. Na ukae. I don't know what seat you're sitting on right now. Do not be unsat. Sit on it. Occupy it with every dignity that you have. That is your seat. When people suggest that it is not your seat, put them right. It is yours. Tumeelewana hapo? Sababu nataka kuendelea. Haya. So let's sit on the seats that we have. Whether you have a seat in a board, whether your seat is in a team, wherever you are, occupy that and make it worthwhile. Right? Because taking your seat at the table has to do with a lot of things. Has to do with the fact that you are there. And I believe in one thing, and I tell all my teams this. I believe, and I strongly do, that the world is run by those who turn up. The world is run by those who turn up. Because you turned up, and because you turned up early, and because you are there, and because you got a seat, let no one unseat you. It's been so ridiculous sometimes. You go to places, and we are there sitting, and I remember some nondescript man coming to tell me, "Nyinyi, amkeni mpeane soda." Hello. And I want to almost clap my hands and ask, "Do you know? Have you seen me? Do you know me? Who? Me? thinking? Just because I'm wearing a skirt, I look like a soda server? And I told him, wewe enda upeane soda na mimi nakunywaga stoni. Nataka stoni. I'll tell you another. You learn, if you are a keen observer of life, you take your lessons where you'll get them. All right? When I was in the school of law, two of my classmates, pretty ladies and whatever, we were staying at the Kenya School of Law, which is just opposite Valley Road. Those of you who are old enough to remember where School of Law was, opposite Grosvenor Hotel. Some people don't even know there was a Grosvenor Hotel. And I stayed in the hostels, and some of my friends, I don't know where they were staying. I think either they were staying sijui Umoja, sijui Kiambu, I don't know. But whenever they came to town, I think their shoes were so muddy. So they got into a habit. Somewhere near Stanley there was there are shoe shiners who used to be on a line, just near that Standard Chartered, which is, so they used to come there, and then they would sit on these two stools, and it used to be something done by men a lot, shoe shiners, patronizing shoe shiners. So these two girls, who will be Alice and Jane, used to go and have their shoes shined and by these guys. And then when they come now to school, or they go into we were doing pupillage at the time, they would be smart. And they made kind of friends with those guys. Then those guys started giving them like freebies, like today he shines it for free, friend. And then Jane came with a stupefied shock on her face, and she was talking like this because something had happened. And the shoe shiners had tried to date them. Nilipewa date na shoe shiner. As we laughed and rolled over, a lesson dropped. You know how they say the penny dropped? A lesson dropped for me. Hakuna mwanaume anajidharau. And that thought, my dear ladies, has festered for me, because it occurred to me that kuna vile sisi wanawake tunajidharau, tunajileta chini, we bite ourselves a notch, and it has been something I've been studying for a long time. Hakuna mwanaume anajidharau. He's a man, you're a woman. It's okay. It's okay. Guy, they were saying, guy. No, nie, guy. So, leadership and likability. I did not set out to be a leader. I did not say I will be a leader when I grow up. I think none of us did. You wanted to be a doctor, you wanted to be an accountant, you wanted to be, some of you came here, maybe you didn't get other jobs, I don't know. But maybe you wanted to be a banker, there's a story that brought you here, isn't it? And so leadership, there's a way in where it is very organic in women. it's because you become a leader because you find you're continually taking responsibility and whatever. So I believe that sometimes, that's why I believe that in women we really have true leaders. Because we do not go for the power grab for the power grab's sake. There's a way in which you become a team leader because you're the best in delivering results within that. You kind of distinguish yourself. Then there's a way it's organic, and you know what I'm talking about, isn't it? But we live in a man's world, and I cannot overemphasize this enough. And there's a story going around, and it is a lie authored by the devil himself, which says that we have over-empowered the girl child and the boy child has been left behind. And when you hear that lie, and now it has hit our churches, sema shindwe mara kumi, because it is a lie. I will believe that we have empowered the girl child vya kutosha when women occupy their rightful seats at the tables at all levels. I think yesterday morning we were IPOA, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, was, is it Monday? Okay, it was the day before yesterday. I was in that meeting because I'm a board member of IPOA, and I'm now the only remaining board member of IPOA. Because they all left because I represent my institution. So I'm the only one left now. And in that board, there were we are 9 of us, and there were 6 women and 3 men. So we did observe the 2/3 gender rule the other way. And I'm very excited about that. Because parity and the gender equality in this country has been taken to mean to 1/3. Sisi tuko sawa. But we men and women at the census poll, we are at par, and which means that it is only right that half the seats are taken by men and half the seats are taken by women on equal basis. But the fact that it seems to be a very awkward thing to even suggest that we are at par is very awkward. I've just learned statistics from your chair that you are at 48%, 52% in terms of the body of workers in Barclays. But let me tell you where the story lies. The story lies in terms of tier number 1, tier number 2, 3, 4, until tier number 20 in case you go that far. And where the women, where can we locate this 48% of women? Where we locate women is where the story lies. And that's why this is our topic today. You know? And therefore, when talking about leadership and likability, I wanted to really say this. When you are appointed as a head of a division, or as a director, as a board member, or as the head of your unit, or I don't know what other responsibility you have been given, what do you do? What do you do? How do you go about it? And my assistant asked me this yesterday, and I said, you go about it as a job. You've been appointed because they have seen that you have the competency to hold that position. You must have done your homework. You know what, if you don't know where the team is and where it should be going, that's the first thing you do when you get into that job. Yeah? I think as leaders, we must be more concerned about one thing: achieving the results for which we were hired. Let that be your focus. Your focus must be increasing your competency in the skills where you feel you need to improve, so that you can be able to really deliver on the job. You must, our focus must be on what is, the fact that you know what is right and what is wrong. You know what is efficient and what is not efficient. You know what is fair and what's not fair. You know what is just and what is not just. And then you just focusing on what brought you there. This is a bit more technical for women because we are socialized to want to be liked. We are socialized to want to be liked. But I want to assure you, my sisters, that when even you're dealing with your male supervisees, making suggestions to them, don't understand that language. Give directions, make orders, give deadlines, and expect them to be met. You don't have to be the smiley. You're not the smiley icon or emoticon of your organization. Ati hacheki na watu. Because you see there's something wrong with the picture. It is already wrong to some people that you are their boss and you are a woman. Already there's something jarred about that. So there are those who will test you. And you'll be tested by men and you'll be tested by women. Even the women you're leading, don't think you should be their leader. You do not have the right body parts. And this is an indictment to all of us. Because when we see a woman leader, our first thought sometimes is to castigate them. She's a bitch. Am I allowed to say that? But that's what we are called. She is so bossy. Eh? Huyo. She's an SLUT. She got there. Tunajua vile alifanya. Huyo ni mfamous. Anajulikana. There are so many attacks on female leadership. Those of us who are fortunate enough to take positions of leadership, get with the groove, get with the game. You are already a bitch. So, what? Just get the job done. Get the job done. Just get the job done and you just do it. If you set out to please people, you shall be the most unreliable leader and you shall be so weak as a leader. Because you will want to favor so and so, you will want to do the work for so and so, you shall be down. How can you be a downtrodden leader? Whom are you leading? So I'm just saying that likability, in my view, has got no place in leadership. My sister, if you have a position in this organization, do it. I can assure you, if it is your prettiness or your beauty that got you there, you shall fall down very, very quickly. If you're very pretty, deal with it. Be beautiful and do the job. Because first, it's the job. All right? And I would like to say that let's buy ourselves some freedom. Buy yourself the freedom to be who you are. If you don't, if you like kujipakapaka na kujipodoa jipodoe to your heart's desire. Live your life with the liberty where you feel free. If you don't like it, don't do it, but do the job. So I just want to emphasize that it is not how we look. It is not about our manner of dress. It must be about how we deliver and our efficiency. I just want to tell you this one, that I have never seen a real dutiful leader who's never been well liked. Because those whom you lead know that you are fair. When people know you are a fair person and you are a just person, and that you are a leader who listens, somehow they just come to your side. Somehow. And you start from being hated. And the minute you get a managing director in this company who is a woman, the top, they will be hated in equal measure by men and women. But the women in this room, please, do not subscribe to that group dynamic. Whoever is your leader at this time, give them the list of days. But that's, again, not what brought us here. Leadership and likability. Don't go for being liked. You'll be hated anyway. The more you work for being liked, the more you will be disliked. And it is those paradoxes of life. So let's just do that which we were called to do. And just leave the liking to those who will. But most of all, as a spiritual woman, I must tell you, make sure that you please God. Because if He is happy with you, wachana hao wengine. Okay. I want to answer this question. Can we have it all in terms of this work-life balance? Can you have it all? I will say a yes and a no, and I know that is annoying you. I will say a yes and a no. First of all, I want to tell you, you're not that Indian goddess with, I don't know, 1 million hands. And the woman there is cast like superwoman. Have you, just look at her with the flowing cape. And where is she standing next to a precipice? I'm fearing for her. Isn't she going to fall? I was just sat there wondering, oh yeah, that woman should step back. Because I don't know if she takes another step forward, where she is going to go. And that briefcase is not helping. My sisters, you're not superwoman. Okay? And I know if those of you who are heads of units or who are in leadership positions, I know you're familiar with burning the midnight oil. Isn't that right? You cannot burn the midnight oil to deliver your accounts or to balance your whatevers you balance, or to give your reports, to do your things, and expect that the ugali eaten in your house shall be cooked by your hand. I don't care what your husband or spouse or partner says. You cannot be in the office at 6 to prepare for a meeting at 7 and expect that the people in your house shall be washed and watered and nourished with your super skills, flipping pancakes by my hand. By the way, I'm a very domesticated person, because that's my socialization. That's how I was brought up. In my handbag, there's always knitting. I knit a lot, and that's how it's a stress reliever for me, honestly, and it reduces my anxiety. It's one of the ways I deal with stress. It reduces my anxiety. And I'm able to think clear thoughts when I'm not talking and just knitting and counting my stitches and minding the pattern and doing a bit when I made a mistake and doing, that thing. It takes my mind off that anxiety. I'm very domesticated, I can sew like the best of them because my mother taught me. In campus, I made my own clothes by hand. I just go to not Koinange Street, Biashara Street. The other professionals used to use Koinange Street. They're professionals and I acknowledge them as such. But on Biashara Street, you would go to a tools or those other whatevers, buy a material, this and that, with some of my friends. And you come and I cut out my thing and I just start sewing. And that weekend on Monday, I have pressed it and I am in it. And I used to feel so accomplished. I still do. I don't make my own clothes anymore because I sincerely don't have the time to do it. But because I can still, a moment here and a moment there, I still need. So I'm as domesticated. I can, by the way, make the really nice crepes, you know, and I'm so proud of them. Once in a while, in my house, it has been known for people to eat crepes in my house. Once in a while. Once in a while, like on Sundays when I've not traveled, I've been known to make a real good dinner and call even my adult children to come and eat from my table. And I have a son who is 19. I asked him to come, and we came, and at the gate is when he asked me, like, what exactly? What exactly are you going to talk about? I said, I'm talking to the women bankers about women things. So I said, life things. Okay. So he opted out. He had an appointment for 9, and I thought I would have loved to introduce him to you. You might have good daughters who can. Yeah, you know, that's how life works. So essentially, in terms of life-work balance, I honestly believe none of us can do it all. You need to recruit a lot of competent help. I want to tell you about my career. You heard that I worked in Monrovia for almost 10 years, for almost a decade. When I left, my son was about to graduate kindergarten, so I did not even attend my son's kindergarten graduation. You know, these days they even given gowns. So I did not attend it, and I lived in outside there for quite some time. And I'm going to combine this work-life balance with a mom guilt story. I had to take the job because it was the next place for me to go. But I had a small boy. And a story which I cannot tell now because we don't have enough time, had taught me to know that really and truly, even if we have our babies, they are not ours. They are God's. They are God's people. And God takes care of them and God watches over them. So I had gotten a certain security. The fact that I am the one watching him does not mean that he cannot get into any trouble, or that he won't get sick, or that he won't fall, or that he whatever. But I was so torn in terms of, do I leave my baby, and then whom do I leave my 6-year-old son with? But I knew in my heart of hearts that it was a good career move for me to take that job in the UN. I was going to start the UNIFEM office. It was called UNIFEM at the time, the United Nations Development Fund for Women. Now we have UN Women. But UNIFEM at the time did not have a presence in Liberia, and it was immediately after the war, the civil war in Liberia. And I just thought that was something I wanted to do. It was extremely excruciating work, because in a post-war situation, things are very, very chaotic. But I just knew I had the skills, and I had what it takes to do that thing. And it was a non-family duty station, so I was not going to take my son. So I left my son with relatives. That's a story for another day. But it was so excruciating the guilt almost killed me. Talk about more white hairs. Now you understand why I'm totally white. Because it's so intense. Okay? But I did it because sometimes there are some decisions you have to make which will be doubted by your nearest and dearest, and which will keep you doubting yourself. One of the best movies I've watched is Doubt. Have you watched Doubt? Please look for it. It's Meryl Streep acts in that movie. It's called Doubt. And some of the monologues there, they really came home. So sometimes when you're in doubt, you need, when you're taking a decision, be sure you know exactly why you took the decision. And be very sure, and if possible, write it down, so that when you're in doubt, you come back to it, that as a reference, to know that the course you took at the beginning will utatoboa na your direction. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, I don't want to elaborate so much, but I just want to tell you that guilt is a gift from Satan himself. And if you are up to accepting the gift of Satan, accept even that one. First of all, he will lie to you. He will tell you you're not a good mother. He will tell you, and Satan has got a very big army, and some of them are your relatives. And they will tell you, unapenda pesa sana. Kazi ya mwanamke ni watoto wake. Kazi ya mwanamke ni kutunza bwana wake. Sijui nini. You'll go to church, you're weary, you need to be fed, and your pastor will preach at you. It's as if he knows your situation and tell you what a bad woman you are. How you don't take it. So you will just feel really guilty. And having come to that, I want to say that guilt is a useless emotion. Guilt is like worry and anxiety. They are vehicles, they keep you in constant motion. But as one of my friends told me many years ago, worry is a vehicle that keeps you in constant motion, but it takes you nowhere. When you started worrying, you are in point A. When you stop worrying, you have not moved. So it's useless. Just deal with the situation that God gives you, and just be sure that you're a good mother. Some of us are raising the worst brats, and I don't know what Kenya will have to deal with. You're raising brats. Let me then berate you there now. I don't want you to feel guilty. I just want you to know as information. Some of you are raising brats because you are working long hours, and the few moments you have, your crafty kids know you're feeling guilty. They know it's time to to hit the bank, and they are hitting it. So you are spoiling them to compensate for the time you're not spending with them. If you cannot spend time with your child, stop bribing them. It's a reality. Stop spoiling them. You're not doing your child any favor by bribing them. Be the strict parent you know you can be. Give them the stern face. As you go to the supermarket, you come out there with almost 5,000 shillings worth of stupid toys and useless things, which you had not intended to buy because for this week you have not been at home. Who will pay you for your extra hours? Now, at this juncture, I don't know how I'm doing for time, but I just wanted then to say a few things in terms of the sticky floors. Honestly, we were told about the glass ceiling, the idea that you work and work and work, and somehow it's as if you're hitting something, and haipasuki, you're not living. We are familiar with that, some of you. If you're familiar with the glass ceiling, you're very fortunate. Say, I'm very fortunate. If you're familiar with the glass ceiling, I am very fortunate because I'm familiar with glass ceilings. But let me tell you, the another reality of the story is the sticky floors. Sticky floors are the things that we do the beliefs that we hold, the practices that we engage in on a daily basis that keeps us where we are, down. Do you understand? And some of them are learned. Because we have learned that when you speak, nobody listens. Sometimes even in your own team, when you speak, people don't listen. But when a man says exactly the same thing you said, it's like you can see the heads going like this. And it's me making sense, because even a woman like me, who sometimes when I speak on the phone, people say, hello, sir. Because I have a deeper register. But when I speak, there are some people who hear me as shrill. And it has nothing to do with the timbre of my voice. I have a deep voice. But when I speak, there are some people who hear a shrill voice. So shrill is not the tone and tenor of your voice. It has to do with the totality of who you are and how people hear you. Someone like Hillary Clinton has been commonly designated as a shrill speaker. She actually has a very low register. She is not shrill at all. But the shrill is an attitude, more of an attitude and less than a physical thing. I was just sharing with my sister here something we call speaking while female. You're familiar with walking while black, yeah? You know this racial profiling of black people in America and other places. That sometimes when you're walking down the street, you'll be suspected of something. You'll need to produce your ID. You may be arrested. You may be shot, because and your crime. You are just walking while being a black person, you know. And we in the gender stereotypes, there's something we call speaking while black, speaking while female. Now, speaking while female, it means that sometimes when we speak, we are not heard. You may be a board member, but when you make a very concrete suggestion in that board, you are not heard, and you know you're not being heard. So how do you get out of this? So one of the things which keeps us down on the sticky floors is that we are not being heard. And my answer to this is speak up. You have learned that you're not being heard. So a lot of you are not speaking. When people are trying to get a solution, you have an idea, but you vet that idea 10 times before you speak. By the time your turn comes to speak, you've gone home, you have slept, you are in the shower, and that's when now you have the perfect words for that solution. But you see, you're like almost 24 or 20 hours too late. Do you understand it? And that is because even in the jobs that we do, when a man makes a mistake, it's seen as if the task was too tough. There was an error somewhere. So men are allowed to make many mistakes, which means even in the careers where we have, they learn more. Because if we learn through trial and error, there's some things which we just learn. We learn because we make mistakes, we correct ourselves, we go on. And a lot of men are given there's a lot of understanding. You say, it was a mistake. It was a genuine mistake. Try that mistake, my friend. If women were allowed to make mistakes and apologize for them, Lydia Baraza would be our DCJ today. Women are not allowed to make mistakes because they talk. The maligning, the name slinging, the intolerance. So we have that, and these are the sticky floors we are talking about. But I'm telling you, my sister, speak up. When you speak up with conviction and with confidence. Do not start saying, I thought I had it may be, I don't know whether it is A good idea. But people are already tired. You've not even said what you wanted to say, but you're first of all excusing it, maybe a stupid idea. You're already dissing the idea. You've not said the idea. All right? Speak up and be ready for rejection. When you're hit down, learn to just stand your ground and just speak up and insist. The Bible says, after all else, stand. And me, I like that one because I say, after all else, stand. Simama imara. Simamia your idea. My niece once brought to my attention this practice of women in the Barack Obama White House. They found that women in the White House, in previous White Houses, whenever they said something, it was never taken as important, and maybe even in the current White House it's not being taken. But in the Obama White House, women had a meeting with themselves and they decided on this, that when a woman says something of note, another woman will immediately speak after her and say, as Nora said, which means that they are now attributing that particular thought to Nora. Because what would happen is when you have a very good idea, man picks it up very much, paraphrases it, then it becomes his idea. Thank you very much. And so they came up with a technique, they called it amplify. Amplify. So when another woman spoke, they would paraphrase what they said and attribute that idea to them, which means there was no chance to steal the women's ideas. Women of Barclays, amplify. The other thing I'll leave you is a gift. And I'll leave you with a gift of a word. It's a 2-letter word. No. 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 That word is your friend. Make it your friend. Make it work for you. Deploy it to defend yourself against the time wasters. Deploy it to steal some time back for yourself. I told you are not superwoman. You will have to fight and defend your time from people who will take it from you so that you can have some time for yourself and some time for your children and some time for those whom you love. All right? It's true. And don't just know that you're human and you cannot do everything. You're human and you cannot do everything, right? So when it is the fact that you have to be there to cook dinner every night, find a very nice way. If you are, and if you are maybe sometimes rude, like sometimes I am, you just say no. But say, I think it's a better idea if we do like this and that. But find ways of saying no, but please say no to many things in your life so you can be able to say yes to the things that build you, to the things that help you grow, to the things that protect you. Right? Do you accept my gift? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You pass the exam. You don't always have to say no. But deploy that to good effect, and God bless you as you do.
She has contributed to the shaping of the banking industry in Kenya. She has spearheaded strategic initiatives aimed at reinforcing the industry role of being a core driver of Kenya's economic development. Her contribution towards policy formulation has led the industry towards adopting numerous progressive practices, particularly in the area of sustainable finance and consumer protection. According to the Dutch and German development banks, the Sustainable Finance Initiative that she champions leads in Africa. She is currently the Kenya Green Bond Program, which is establishing a green bond market in the country. In 2015, she became the youngest female to earn the Fellow of the Kenya Institute of Bankers, designation for industry excellence and leadership. And in 2016, she was recognized by the Eisenhower Fellowships Program, and US President Barack Obama as an emerging African leader. She is the founding member of the Kenya chapter of Grasa Machel's New Faces, New Voices Pan-African Network that advocates for for women's economic empowerment. She also serves as the statutory judiciary committee on alternative dispute resolution. She graduated with honors in business administration from Kinsu, I hope I got that right, State University in Atlanta, and has an executive MBA in strategy from Georgia State University, Atlanta. She's a mom to one daughter. Help me in welcoming Nuru Mogambe, Kenya Bankers Association Director. Our next panelist. She was appointed to the board of Barclays Bank of Kenya in August 2014. She is currently the Public Affairs and Communications Director for Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. She's an honorary fellow of the Kenya Institute of Management, chairperson Junior Achievement Kenya, a board member of the Gender Violence Recovery Center. She holds an MA in Finance and Investment, University of Exeter, UK, a Bachelor of Commerce degree BCom, Hons, University of Nairobi, and is a certified investor relations. She is a founder of community-based organization called Sense of Worth that works with young people. She's widowed and is a mother to 3 young adults, Marsha, Kevin, and Pat. Come on, help me in welcoming our very own Barclays Board Director, Nora Ocheng Odweso. She joined Barclays Bank in 1991 and is currently the acting country credit director, where she's responsible for day-to-day credit risk management for all borrowing clients across the 3 segments of Barclays: retail and business banking, corporate and investment bank, and markets. She's a seasoned banker with more than 20 years of experience working with Barclays Bank in both retail and corporate banking environments. She has strong international working experience, having worked for Barclays in UK, South Africa, and Tanzania in senior leadership roles. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Financial Services and an MBA from Cranfield School of Management in the UK. She also holds an Associate of Certified Banking qualification and is a certified executive coach. She's an alumni of WILS. WILS stands for Women in Leadership Series Program, Advanced Management Program of 2014, and Women Directors Leadership Summit 2016 executive programs run by Strathmore School. And she's a mom to 2 daughters. Help me in welcoming. And a wife, yes, she's a wife and a mom to 2 daughters. Help me in welcoming Christine Mwai, our very own.
First of all, sitting alongside these accomplished women for me is really a great opportunity, and also an opportunity to share with you my journey. So the first question, Caroline, I should go to the questions, right? There are 2 questions around, it is said women are our worst enemies. What are your views on that? How do you get women to stop fighting and each other and get to the top? Have we heard of the PhD syndrome? What does PhD stand for? Sorry? Pull her down, right? Yeah. Yeah. So we suffer from that. We each of us, inadvertently or intentionally, perhaps have been either a victim or a perpetrator of the pull her down syndrome. I've suffered from it myself. And it's a sad thing to do it to yourself, to be done to, or to do to other people. And the reality is, I sit in the CMC with Caroline Dongo and Jennifer Musau, who you all know. And it's one thing we always say. We say, you know, we watch these men in CMC. They will have their passionate fights in there. And when they meet outside there, they'll hit each other. Those back slaps Karemi referred to, they'll do them, and they'll get on with life. And then we women have our grudges, and we have big issues with each other. It's just not right. And that day we are saying to ourselves, you know what, we need a women's club as well. Huh? We are 3, let's come together. And the thing is, we need to learn to work together. Put aside our differences and focus not on the personalities, but on the issues. And most of these issues, if you deal with them, they're for the betterment of the organization. So I'm saying to us in this room here, let's put away the PhD. Yeah? The only way we'll rise is if you just put these petty issues aside, the grievances aside, whether you wear my hair natural or you put a nice weave or a nice perm, ignore those petty issues, you know, Let's not take each other's boyfriends and husbands. Yeah? Yeah? There's so much we can gather from working together. Last week, I was talking to a relationship manager. By the way, we were discussing work. And then the work thing, you know how women are. You start discussing work, then you move to where did you buy your weave, and then you move around to other things. We start talking about things. And then we got to the point she was telling me about her 20-year-old son. And when she described her son and what the challenges she's faced with her son, I discovered that the personality of her son equates to that of my daughter, who's 11, and the challenges I'm beginning to see with my daughter. And when she explained to me her journey with her son and what she's been able to achieve, my God, I was so empowered. I was like, what? I mean, we discussed in work, and then I came out with so much more enriched. I took a few parenting tips from the journey she's walked through. There's so much we can give each other, be it parenting tips, be it diet tips, be it career tips. Yeah? Let's not pull each other down. Let's pull each other up.
First of all, I'd just like to say it's a great pleasure for me to be in the midst of extremely powerful women who I'm looking at, and you ought to see yourselves as such, because leadership is not so much about title as it is about impact. So at whatever level you are at, know that you're a leader, because it comes in various levels. You made a choice this morning. It was a leadership choice. And you came here. You lead in relationships. You lead in organizations. And some women lead around the world. So at whatever level you are, know that you're a leader and know that you have potential. Forget about your sex. Am I a woman? Am I a man? Know that you're a human. And that's why we have leaders in our midst who are leading human rights entities. Right? Tuko pamoja? So I'm really excited to be here this morning. Someone has asked a question, how can I overcome my limitations? And whoever it is, I wish I was you, because I don't know your limitations. But the thing that you have to consider, number one, first of all, before I answer this question, I'd also like us in this place to be at a place of complete liberation and to be able to define your own success. Right? Define your own success. Some of you may want to be CEOs of organizations. Some of us don't. We have other metrics of success. So I don't want you to be under pressure. I want you to be liberated and define your own. This, to me, is the picture of success when I will have done A, B, and C. For some of you in the room, raising your children to become great men and women in the world is a strong metric of success. And so be it. So, liberate yourselves in terms of what success means. Don't put yourself as a square peg in a round hole. And don't always compare yourself with other women and say, oh, you know, she's successful and I'm not. You ought to also see introspectively within yourself. Because sometimes we think we have limitations, but we have placed these limitations on ourselves. So someone is asking, how can I overcome my limitations? And then secondly, how can I know the floor is sticky? Very broadly, because this is a whole book by itself. So I'll be very succinct. You need to first come to a place where you identify what your limitations are. And I'm so excited that I'm here in the midst of a profound person like my speaker here, my fellow speaker here. And one of the things she said that really hit on me was that there are things that people can speak to you as she did earlier for 30 minutes and you will have learned stuff that you could have learned over 30 years. In the 30 minutes that she spoke, I learned things that I could have learned in a lifetime. So one of the ways of overcoming your limitations is identifying what you think that they are. What are my limitations? Confront them. These are my limitations. And then derive action plans. Here's how I would like to manage these limitations. And today, I won't tell you one of my limitations, but when I listened to her speak this morning, I believe that I've overcome 2 of the limitations that I've identified for myself. Networking with other people, like-minded. Networking with people that you believe are ahead of you. Confronting the limitation. Feeling the fear and putting an action plan. Right? I'll be very succinct on that. But how can I know the flow is sticky? you can actually tell when the flow is sticky. The flow is sticky when, number one, you have a goal that you have set before you, and the gap between where you are and where your goal is huge. And sometimes the flow is sticky because of your own internal beliefs, your own internal idiosyncrasies, your own internal attitude about yourself. Like she said earlier, you can't even speak up. So no one hears you. No one believes you. When you speak up, you sound like a squeaky mouse. So some of the limitations is because, again, how we were socialized, right? So you would know that your flow is sticky when you have this goal before you, yet you're here, and you know what are the reasons, what are the barriers that I have, number one, put here for myself. But secondly, the other thing that I believe is that organizations historically have been set up to be unfit for the success of women. I think that in many regards, the leadership game has been rigged. And I think that if we were to start building organizations from scratch, it would be completely different from how it is today. Because the way organizations are structured, you have to go to work every day, you have to burn the midnight oil every day, certain work pressures, unrelenting travel. There's a lot of things that I see in all our workplaces in terms of how they have been configured to be unfit for women to grow in leadership. So some of those are real. Some of the sticky flows are real. Some of the glass ceilings are real. But I'd like to encourage us to have a starting point. Here's where I am. This is my goal. And these are the actions that I will put in place. Be courageous to challenge status quo. And I'd like to encourage the women in senior leadership here in Barclays to confront, to challenge the status quo, to defend what we believe is right for us. I have to say that in many respects, this organization has done well in terms of bringing into play diversity and inclusivity. And many times when I interact with senior management, women in senior management, I'm convinced they're not there because they're a token. They're there because of competence. They're there because they have worked smart. They're there purely on merit. You know, in some organizations, they talk about the gender rule. So you find that, oh, let's just put this woman there because we need women. I refuse to be a token. You got to be there on merit. And you have to consistently prove that you're there on merit and that you can do it. And that takes work. That takes a lot of courage. That takes effort. That takes sacrifice. It's not just appearing and whining and saying, oh, you know, I should be here. No, it takes work on your side. A responsibility is assigned to you to manage those limitations. And for those of you who are women of faith, like I am, there's a place for prayer, but there's also a place for taking responsibility. There's a place for saying, oh, God, do this for me, but there's a place for you to do it for yourself and shape yourself up.
There's a question here about how do I take off? How do I move from where I am feeling stuck to where I need to go? And I imagine this is where a lot of us have been, will be, are in. So I think maybe there are just many ways to look at it. And I was trying to imagine over the course of my career when I have felt that thing of, you know how in skipping, how you're trying to enter into, when people are moving the rope and you're trying to enter to skip and you're like, okay, next time, okay, I'm going to do it, okay. So you're kind of feeling like maybe something is holding you back. And there's so many examples of when I've been in that space. And I realize there's many things. It's either maybe your boss is holding you back, right? So you're dealing in a situation where you don't want to be more vocal than your boss. You feel like your boss might not be, let's be honest, sometimes we work for incompetent bosses. So you might feel that you know more than your boss, right? So you're constantly holding yourself back. Your boss might see you as maybe you're over sexualized, so you look very sexy and hot. I've had that experience where I was working for a very simple American woman from the Midwest, and she just was like, "You're just too much. This is just too much." So there are different things that you might feel around the situation about your boss. Maybe it's a situation of your background and your training. Maybe you don't have a degree. Maybe you have a diploma, and maybe that's what's holding you back. And that comes with the emotional issues, but it's also the reality that there's some positions that will look at your papers. What are your papers and things like that. So maybe that's what's holding you back. Then there's also who we are as individuals. I think sometimes we forget that we are a combination of the experiences that we have had throughout our lives. So some of us have personal issues that might be holding us back, self-doubt. You're critiquing yourself. You might not believe in yourself, maybe because you grew up in a household where no one believed in you. So there are many different things that might hold you back in that moment when it's time for you to jump, isn't it? And I think both Kagwera and Nora have talked about this issue of believing in yourself, because I think it's the most important thing. You have to start there. So, and once you believe in yourself, you can start ticking off all these other things. So one of the ways I have unstuck myself in these situations where if I feel I might not have the necessary experience and nobody is opening the door for me, I open the door myself. So if I feel that there's some learning I need and my employer is not paying for me to go to university, I paid for myself to get my MBA. Work didn't pay for me. So it's only when I started paying that now my boss got embarrassed and said, "Can we help you with books or something?" So you should never ask for permission to build yourself. If your work doesn't pay for your master's, you need to save and pay for your master's. I put myself through undergrad with a credit card. My parents didn't help. I didn't ask for permission to go to school. I took myself there. Like now, at least once a year, I will pay for myself to go to an international conference. Not because work will put here, ticket, go learn. They won't do that. But I know it's by exposing myself, removing myself from my environment that I will learn. Even just sitting next to somebody, you will pick up things. So I've learned that you really have to invest in yourself.
How do you balance between being a wife and a mom at the same time? And I want to start by saying, for those who are not married in this room, and I'm sure there are a few of you, please, I give you advice that I heard a couple of years ago from Baroness Linda Choka. She had visited Kenya a couple of years ago. She was the first lady mayor of London in 800 years. She said to the people in the room who are single, and I'll repeat it again. These are not my words, this is Baroness Choka. She says, marry well. And marry well does not come from Meghan last weekend. Yeah? She's married well, but that's a different married well. She's married royalty. Marry well, what Baroness Linda Choka meant was marry someone who understands your ambition and knows where you want to go. Somebody who's not intimidated by you. So by way of example, by the time I got married in my 30s, and I'm glad I got married in my 30s, not my 20s, because I'll be divorced. Yeah, because I did not know myself in my 20s. By the time I got married to my husband, I was earning more than him because he just come back from another country, was starting back based in Kenya. Yeah, but he was self-assured himself to say, you know what, I'll take the, see, this man is also ours, so let's go together. So, but coming back to the issue of a wife and a mom, and it's a delicate act. It's not something you do perfectly, but I think you need to make your partner a real partner. And I think Sheryl Sandberg says that in her book. She says, the days on where you become the superwoman on that picture there are not possible. So by way of example, yesterday at 10 o'clock at night, I was busy responding to James again on a couple of things I needed to work on today because we got visitors today. Yeah, so who did the homework, yesterday? Who do you think did the homework with my 7-year-old? The house help up to 7 o'clock, and then the father who happened to be around because he just travels a lot was there who just did the finishing touches, and that's life, And no disrespect to what you said earlier. You mentioned the house help is a domestic worker. I take a different view. I see the house help as being my greatest ally. I do not have a sister. I'm not the kind of person who brings my mother-in-law to take care of my children. we respect spaces. Yeah. So my house girl, who I call my manager, you know, like how people have wives, she's my PA. That's how I view my house girl. So I train her, I invest in her, I compensate her well. Yes. Yeah. So when I'm in South Africa, yeah, she's following the schedule I would have followed when I am out there. So ladies, yeah, we end up spending so much money on our hairs and underpaying our house helps. Please, if you want to work without calling home to ask, mtoto amepupu, mtoto amekula, yeah, I put it to you, yeah, get trained help. Take them for first aid. Yes? If you're not a great cook, teach them how, get someone to teach them how to cook. Yeah? But also, work with your partner so they can understand the journey you're on and the demands you're on. Does that answer that question? All right. And the guilt thing is always there. 2 weeks ago, I knew I was coming for this thing. The week before Mother's Day, I dropped my daughter, a 12-year-old who was going for a music lesson on a Saturday morning. I was the second born. We're walking from Tuskys in Adams Arcade. We're walking to where we had parked the car. And she just grabs me fiercely, and she holds me tight and says, "Mommy, do you know?" So I'm looking at her like she's a drama queen. So I'm looking at her like, "Yes, Wenda, what's the problem?" She says, Mom, her sister told me, Wema told me that Wangari Maathai, when she was dying, the one thing she said was, "I wish I spent more time with my children." And I looked at her, I said, she said that, yeah. So I'm holding you now, and I don't want to leave you today because I don't want you to die. And from there, we walked back to the car in silence, like shock, feeling so guilty. And that night I went and I prayed. I was like, that week I had been home every day after 8 o'clock. And I'm like, God, you gave me this job. I don't know, And Geneva is here. I didn't want this job in the first place. I'm going to have this job now, And then that night I did my devotion and I read something that said something like, God has placed you in this home with this and a mother to these children for a reason. Can someone say amen? Amen. Because we're in that family for a reason. Yeah? So I can't say, gosh, maybe somebody else should have been there to do this thing. It's me. God gave me these children, He's the reason why He did that. So I can't just say now, what, I should feel guilty. I should go quit tomorrow. Geneva is my letter. I can't. Yeah? That's not the question. The other one was about, because I think time is running out, so this is the last question. Is 40 years too late to get off sticky floors? Absolutely not. If you're 40, please go buy a book called Halftime by Bob Buffett. Yeah, because it's this person talked about, yeah? And to Kagoria's point, please read. And read is not true love. Yeah? True love you read in a salon. Yeah? Please invest in books, ladies. Yeah? So in that book, the person talks about reinventing yourself. Yeah? Yeah. Kagwira was giving us her story, how she reinvented herself. Yeah, some people change their names. Some people just change themselves. Yeah? So I have done a lot of rebranding myself. Yeah? At the age of 40, and some people know this in this room, I stayed, from the month of 8, I was 8 weeks pregnant when I had a serious sort of a threat. I almost lost the baby. And I went and told, and then the guy told me, if you don't, I think you make a decision. It's not like you're in a stressful job. I think you need to decide, do you want to carry the baby? Do you want to, I think it's up to you. You decide that. And I prayed about it, I came back I told my boss at the time, very supportive boss, you know what? I've been asked to make a choice. Sounds like I'm in a stressful environment. And indeed, it was a stressful environment at the time. Back it gets even more stressful as the times because the temperatures are always high. But then the truth of the matter is, I made a decision. I said to my boss, I need to spend time at home. And from 8 weeks, I stayed home. And in that time, God worked on me. Because I had a lot of issues I needed to deal with myself. And I'm not saying to you ladies over here, there are issues you need to deal with yourselves, man. The idiosyncrasies, the habits, the fears. Yeah, you need to deal with yourselves. At 40, at 30, at whatever age, you need to confront yourself. Yeah? So 40 is not too late to invent yourself. And the last question I think I want to overcome is, there's something about overcoming job limitations in a boring role. I think those boring roles are a good grounding, they have good foundation. Early in my career, and I've been in this bank long enough, I spent a year in the basement. They have Queensway House, doing different jobs in the basement. We were preparing for a major audit. And I learned a lot. You can enrich those roles. The boring role, take on more responsibilities. Take work from your boss. The reason why I'm where I am is I used to take what my boss didn't want to do, I'll take it. And I'll do it. And I'll make mistakes. And I'll go back and do it again. And make more mistakes. Yeah? So do not wait to be given. Ask your boss, can I do this for you? Stretch yourself, ladies. Yeah? And the last one is, why do senior ladies get intimidated when junior staff have more dimension? Maybe dimension, you mean maybe more scope, more depth than them. I think it's, maybe women may suffer from that. Perhaps sometimes we have a inferiority complex, which unknowingly we project to the staff under us. I have a different view. I hire the best people. Yeah, I hire people who are much better than myself. Yeah, I tap into their skills. There's a book again, now a book called Spikes. Please go and look for that book. Spikes by Rene Carayol. I think some people have it in HR. Look for it. He talks about spikes. What are you great at? Yeah. So in my team, I hire people based on their strengths, not their weaknesses. Yeah, and they must complement mine. I don't hire people who are like me. I have people who are opposites than me. So if you feel your boss is not bringing the best in you, look for a different boss. Yeah. Look for somebody who's intimidated by you. And for ladies, you both need a mentor and a sponsor. A study was done last year that showed that women are over-mentored but under-sponsored. What is a sponsor? A sponsor is not who you think the sponsor is. Yeah. A sponsor is somebody who sees your potential and is willing to say, you know what, let's take a risk on that person. I have been blessed to have been sponsored by somebody who says, you don't have all of it, but I will recommend you. I've had somebody who's told me, you went for the interview, but by the way, you had these gaps, but I see the potential. I will take the risk on you. Okay. So I'm saying to yourself, I don't think it's all senior ladies. Yeah? Just like everyone says, every lady is a bad, senior ladies don't make good bosses. It depends on the individuals. But if you honor your boss, and that's something I learned from my pastor. In this country, we do not honor. We don't start by honoring our leaders. We may not have the best of governors, but they're the governor. Yeah? We don't honor. If you honor your leaders, and I'm not talking about bootlicking them or being a sycophant. Yeah? If you work to make your boss successful, believe me, they'll pull you along. But if you dishonor, that's it for you.
That was so powerful.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to underscore something she said about, Christine said about house help. I told you that you are not a superwoman. You have to enlist the help that you need. For 4 years, my house help raised my son and in my house. And I was, because I didn't work, placing my son with relatives. Or while I was in Liberia. And we co-parented that child. And that's why I wanted to bring him as a specimen. But he refused. And he refused. He refused. No, honestly, I'm well pleased in that young man. And I know that it's not so much my doing, but that the Lord is God. So, but I really wanted to really underscore the fact that I honor and I build up the young people the Lord brings my way to work with me. I see them as partners. I treat them as family. So they are part of my family.
Sorry, I think I need to clarify because this is clearly... So you remember what I said is the person in your home is not an auntie. That's what I said. So you have to be careful in positioning these people as a relative, so familial. So I also had a mate who with me for about 3 years. And one day she just woke up and decided to leave because she wanted to get married. And I was by myself with my child for a while, and it started coming out that this woman was actually telling my child, you see, your mom has gone again. You see, I'm the one who's taking care of you. You see, so you have to be careful about that because my child built a bond with somebody who has no bond with her. Okay, so it's not about, I do not disrespect my mate. She's probably, I always ask my friends, how much you guys pay? I'm always paying the highest. I've given her a laptop. She's learning herself. Whenever I travel, I will always bring her stuff. She has Bed Bath and Body Works spray. So it's not that. The way you treat someone is not what you call them. So, but she's not my auntie. She's not my child's aunt. I'm sorry. So I'm not going to apologize for that because she's not my child's aunt. So, but I will treat her well. Okay, so you must respect these people because they are with your children. I know a little boy who got burnt with hot water by a mate who was upset with the mom. So you have to be, it's terrible, isn't that terrible? So there are things that these women and men will do to your children without you and say about you. So I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not hating on maids just because I call her house manager, domestic manager, domestic worker, doesn't mean I'm disrespecting maids, no. As a single woman, single mom, I cannot live without a maid and not live without taking care of who is helping my child most of the time. So I just wanted to clarify that. This word auntie and creating an impression that this person who can leave at a drop of a hat or abuse your child at a drop of a hat, they're not relatives. Yeah.
Wow, what wisdom. I wish we could be here all day. Some of the questions that are being asked here have been responded to. So I'm not going to belabor some of the points, but we just need to acknowledge that someone has asked a question that there seems to be a lot of competition amongst women in the workplace. The first thing it's a myth, which I would like to dispel. It's not competition among women. The world is competitive. Even men would ask this question, that there seems to be a lot of competition among men. There's competition everywhere. In the workplace, in politics, even at home. There's competition everywhere. So there is a lot of competition and you have to live with that competition. And the lady has asked that as a lady who would wish to get out of a sticky floor, how do you go about it without ruffling feathers? I think Kagweria spoke very comprehensively about leadership and likability. Ruffling feathers should not be any of your business. Like she told you very categorically that what do you need to do? Do the job. Do the job. And be honest to the office that you're working in. So issues to do with ruffling feathers should be secondary. I think Kagweria also spoke something about being fair as a leader. So to the extent that you're fair, you exercise equity, you exercise integrity, you are delivering on your work goals. If ruffling feathers comes as a subsequent, I don't think that this is something that you should be worried about. And I think this question comes from a very typical lady who has been socialized to believe that, oh, I must be liked, I can't ruffle feathers. Sometimes you ruffle feathers. Many times you ruffle feathers. And I like what one of my favorite authors, I don't know how many of you read Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho this morning tweeted that sometimes you should just cross the line and bear the consequences. If you don't do that, you'll remain staring at the line for the rest of your life. Yeah? Yeah, take calculated risk. I know that this is sometimes even at my workplace, I've made certain decisions doing this. Because I know that the fallout that will be there, the bricks of rocks that will fall on me. But guess what? I'm still here and I haven't been fired as yet. So take the calculated risk. Understand why you're taking that risk. Because the end game is worth a lot more than the feathers, the few feathers that you will ruffle. So do not be so conscious about ruffling feathers unless you have a problem another problem that you're worried about. I'll answer that question very quickly. There's a question that says for Nora and Kagweria, so you probably may need to ad-lib on this one. How did you position yourself, prepare yourself to sit on boards? What steps did you take to ensure that you were ready and that you got into serving in the boards, that you serve as a board member or as a director? The first thing that I'd like to tell all of you is that many of us subconsciously admire the trimmings of what they refer to as success, and you admire the form. You said the form over the substance. You have no idea what some of these women in leadership go through. Before you decide that, oh, I want to sit on the board, it's not so much about going around and telling everybody, oh, ha, 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 I sit on this board and that board. Sitting on the board demands great responsibility. Sitting on a board is about being the governing entity, the accountability entity. It's a great deal of responsibility. You could be jailed. So before you run around laughing about and wearing a suit's worth 50,000 shillings and telling everybody, haha, I sit on this board, you better know what does it mean. A board is a position of service, for God's sake. It's a position of service and a position of great responsibility. So you need to know, why do I want to sit on this board? Is there stuff that I need to know about this board? I'll let you in on a secret. And one of the things that I always aspired to do was to serve on specific boards of companies that are within specific sectors, like the financial sector. And what did I set out to do? I set out networking with at least 5 different CEOs of some of the largest banks in this country. Now, I myself am not a CEO. I don't need permission to network with anyone I want to. But my ambition was that, and I felt one of the things I need to do is to accrue knowledge in this particular sector. And I had lunches, I had coffees with each one of these group CEOs and learned quite a bit about the financial sector and some of the things that needed to happen in the sector, or some of the ways in which I could contribute with wisdom in this sector. And so that was my way of preparing myself. So you have a different way of preparing yourself, but understand the sector, understand your motive behind sitting on that board, understand what it is that you want to influence around, and what's your end game. So prepare. That's a great deal of preparation. So that generally prepares you. Work with other recruiters. Raise your hand up. Many of us believe that as women, someone should discover us in the jungle. And that's why many of you cry and say, oh, I'm in this boring role. I'm not sitting any board. What have you done? How many of you, for instance, are members of an entity called Women on Boards Network? Okay, none of you, including the one who asked the question. You're not in any network. There are so many networks in this country for women that aspire to sit on boards. You need to be on those networks. Google, find out what's there in this country. Oh, I want to sit on a board in Malaysia. Find out. It doesn't hurt. So that's a way of preparing yourself. So stay woke, as they say. Somebody has asked, and I think Kagweria, because you're supposed to add on to that in a few minutes, finishing quickly, what has been your differentiating factor? Your differentiating factor has to be your unique selling proposition. And the thing that I would like to encourage you all is, do not be intimidated by anyone. You know, many of us walk behind the shadows of people and, oh, I wish I was like that woman. You don't wish you were like that woman. Be you. Compete with you. Who am I? What is the improved version of Nora? And how would that look like? Journal it and write it on a paper. Here is the improved Nora. Here is what the improved version of Nora working on myself would be like. And I will not compete with any other woman, because I don't know what she goes through. I don't know what's in her life. So be your own competition. When you're your own competition, you will then discover that you have a differentiating factor that other women don't have. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. I won't change my answer. My answer about how to position yourself is to take that wonderful voyage, wonderful journey I've encouraged you to take. 80 leagues under yourself. Do the work. Do the work on you. And just discover what your talents are. Admit what your limitations are. Some of your limitations will never overcome them, but you know what? They won't matter. All right? They won't matter. So, and I think it is a management science thing that you will succeed better if you work on your strengths than if you spend all your time working on your weaknesses. Do you understand what I mean? If they are gaping, if you're just a mean person who just ropokwas and says what they feel every time, you can work on that and shut your mouth. But, or if you are always saying things that make other people feel bad about themselves, you can do something about that. There are some things we can do something about. But there are certain things about who you are that people will always have to take with some sugar or some honey. You know what? That's their problem, because that's not your problem. I think just knowing who you are and being sure about your direction and where you're going, it really helps. And then people see that. People always are attracted by a certain level of authenticity in terms of who you are. So if you're hiding, come out of the shadows. Stand there and bear the scrutiny. There's an example which I usually give, I may not give in polite company, but it has to do with the fact that anyone who lives in my house, I tell them, if you're underclothes, I usually tell them, if what you wear next to your skin, which nobody sees, you cannot launder it and put it on the line where everyone is passing. If it cannot withstand public scrutiny, it has no business anywhere in your body. And it is the same thing about what is in your heart, what is in your spirit. Scrutinize it. How can you be so dressed to the nines and yet you have torn underwear? Do you understand what I mean? If it cannot withstand public scrutiny on the laundry line, it has no business anywhere on your body. Because what we wear, what is not seen, is a statement of what you think about yourself. Isn't it? In fact, even how we keep some of our private places, even the files on your computer, how you organize them, no one sees them. But it also says something about who you are and how organized you are and what you also think about yourself. You're worthy of order. You are worthy of something of quality. Because you're telling yourself and you're affirming to yourself that you're quality. And guess what? People will see it. I will say that I'm sitting on not so many, not less than, I think, more than 10 boards now by reason of, I think, even my position, and some have been invited individually. But I sit on these places because you know what? I stick out, I stand out, and I remain there. And sometimes I feel ridiculous, but I stand my ground. And I think it's the same reason why some of you may have thought it is a good idea to invite me. There's so many women in this country you could have invited, isn't it? But maybe that's why you invited me here. I find myself on some of these boats, they say I'm invited in the same way that you invited me here today. And lastly, because I'm also a lay preacher and I've got the power from heaven to do so, let me end by blessing you with the blessings of heaven. Let me pray that our good God will find you where you are. He who understands your need, his hand is extended to you and he will lead you to the light. He is the Lord of the light. He is the Lord of light. He's not the Lord of darkness. He pulled us out of darkness. Come out of the shadows, my sisters. Let's stand in the light. Let us be the light. Let's shine on others. And by this, I'm talking about mentorship. Every one of you who is here, you know something. You can help another woman. You can help a young man like the one who was singing lovely things here. When you mentor, you're not just mentoring women, other women. I want you to mentor men and women who need your hand, who need your clues. You could tell men some things which can help them also in becoming better men. Isn't it? So just be a better human being. Serve in your church. Serve in your community. I think my sister here talked about do something about this garbage in your community. Just go out there and do it. Leadership is not an invitation. It is something you step out and you do. Step out of the shadows. Be an ambassador of light. I bless you.
Sorry. Thank you. I wasn't able to get to all my questions, but there was one that I thought was important. It says, have you ever had a second thought about getting children? And it coming in the way of your career. I think it's a real question, and I'll say no. Again, as a single parent, I'm sure a lot of people think, oh, do you regret? Do you think, oh? I don't think our children come in our way of our careers. It's how we manage and navigate it. And then also it goes back to this issue about being authentic. And Rosalind, who is here, can tell you, my daughter comes to my office at least twice a month because I've no apologies about being a mother. And it's important that my boss sees me not as a robot, somebody who is just here to clock in, clock out, do my work. He needs to see that when you ask me to stay late, guess what? somebody is waiting for me at home. So it's important that as mothers, we embrace our roles, but also don't let it be separate circles. You've got your work circle, and then you've got your family circle. It's important that family sees that you have children, and that your boss, more importantly, your boss knows who your kids are. And I'll close. I was at a function with Aiden. So those of you who are here when Aiden Mohammed was our boss knows he was the MD of Barclays. And at the end of it, Aiden said, just chatting, Aiden goes, "So, Nuru, how is McKenna doing? Is she still doing her swimming? How are things going there?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's great, whatever." So we talked about her for a while, my daughter. And then when I walked out, I remember one of my coworkers saying, "Oh, so you know the CS? How does he know your child?" And I'm like, all my bosses know who my child is, because it's important that they see you as a person. So when you're struggling to get up in the morning because you were up last night with a sick child, they need to have that empathy for you, right? Remember, we're not super women. So you can't project in them an emotional attachment to you if you're not willing to expose your vulnerabilities, which come with being a woman. So I just wanted to share that. Have no regrets for your children. If you're a single mother, married, don't regret your kids. Because I honestly believe that God, actually I was just chatting last night with a friend of mine. His wife is like an absentee wife, so he's taking care of his kids. And he was like, "When will I get a reward?" And I said, God will bless you. The minute you work hard and you're a good parent, anything you do, I believe, will be blessed. Yeah, so please don't regret your children.
Your eyes, they sparkle like the stars when they share the moments far, deep and rich in love. There is no one that I would rather have. There is no one makes me feel the way you do inside my heart. 'Cause your love is unbelievable, undeniable, indisputable. This kind of love, so faithful, beautiful, undoubtedly the best kind of love. I will never forget the sacrifice you made every day. Pull you up on your feet, oh, yeah. Always strong for us. Oh. So need I say one in a million? My life, I would give it up for you. This music is my gift to you. Oh, need I say one in a million? My life, I would give it up for you. This music is my gift to you. You're unbelievable, undeniable, indisputable. Oh, this kind of love, so faithful, beautiful, undoubtedly the best kind of love. Ooh, unbelievable, indisputable, so faithful, Lord. I love you, oh, this night. If there's a mother seated next to you, say nakupenda mama.